Hey, how's it going? This is a response to someone that has sent me a message through YouTube. And the deal with YouTube is I wrote an extensive response, like a long, I spent a good 20, 30 minutes writing this thing up, responding to a specific person. But when I hit send, the YouTube server didn't take and message never went through. So being frustrated, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just make a video and respond that way. And I think several people can use this information, not just one. It's for the betterment of more people. So, okay, so the fellow asked me, one of them, someone asked me, hey, you know what, I like the deal with the 1,000 CDs. And how long did it take you to get to riding a 1,000 cc bike? 1,000 cc's, and I said, well, put it this way, when I got into sport, because my industry deals with aviation, and I talk to pilots a lot. Pilots talk in terms of airtime. When they talk to each other, they say, well, how long have you been flying? And they'll say, well, I've got 2,000 hours under my belt. And that's how they'll talk. They'll talk in terms of how much airtime they have, not how many miles they've flown or where they've been, but how much airtime they've logged on. So, 2,000 hours is not trivial. You're talking 8 hours a day for Monday through Friday for a year. 2,000 hours. 50 weeks. So to answer the guy's response, I basically told him, answer the guy's question, I basically said, well, I've been, truth is I haven't been writing very long. I've been writing since March, okay? And my story is a little different because I don't think I've done the traditional route as most riders have, ride on the weekend and stuff. And my intent was to log on as many miles as I could in the shortest amount of time in order to master the aspects of motorcycling as much as possible. When I get into something, I really get into it. Now, the guiding philosophy that I kept in mind was, everybody was telling me, you're going to drop the bike. Everybody drops their bike. The one sentence that really stuck in my mind was, it's not a matter of if you're going to drop your bike, it's a matter of when you're going to drop your bike. So I kept that in heart, and when the day I got my license, was I opened up the newspaper and I found a motorcycle for under $1,500. And I thought, my goodness, this is the perfect motorcycle. And I talked to the guy on the phone, and he said it had been crashed and everything. And I told him, you know what, that is perfect. That's the perfect bike for me. So when I showed up and I looked at the bike, man, that bike was ugly. It was ripped up and it had been crashed. He had slid on some construction plates while it was raining, and the two sides of the bike was smashed. And if you look at my live video account, you'll see photographs of my very first motorcycle. It's actually very ugly. The gas tank had been crashed. The gas tank had been smashed in. And so what happened was I purchased it in March, and I purchased in March. I rode it for one day, and just rode it for one day, and I went on vacation for 2 weeks. Now, being on vacation for 2 weeks, after I came back, I decided to, I couldn't wait to get my hands on that motorcycle and ride it like crazy. So when I came back, I rode like crazy for 2 months. For 2 weeks. Now, I'm a kind of person that lives 3 miles from the office, and my round trip commute is 6 miles. So I commute Monday through Friday, 6 miles. But in the 2-week period, I put in 700 miles. Basically, I went around the island several times, and the result was, let's see, I put in about Yeah, I put in 700 miles. The bulk of the time was put in on a weekend. So after those 2 weeks, within those 2 weeks, I dropped my bike 3 times, twice on the right and once on the left. And I know my mistakes. I know what I did, and I felt like um, I felt like I knew what I did wrong, and I knew what not to do again, to repeat the same mistakes again. And I felt like paid my dues. I did drop it. I know how I dropped it, and I know how not to move it or handle it in such a way to drop it again. So I moved on, and I was looking for another bike. I picked up a Suzuki FV650. Now, that bike was a V-twin. It was weaker. It had less power than my Katana 600, and in fact, it was the equivalent to a 400cc bike from what I've been told. Okay, great, it's okay. I just wanted to try something different. It was a lot nicer. If you look at, if you look at my live video account, I have photos of that Suzuki SV650. I wish I never sold that bike. Now, I purchased that in April, okay, and I rode the hell out of that thing again. Same thing as my Katana. I put 4,200 miles on it in 6 months, okay, and again, I commute. My commute to work is freaking 6 miles round trip, okay. Basically, I put in the bulk of my miles on the weekend, and I try to ride whenever I can. I mean, I'd go the long way to work. Like, I'd go 10 miles to work, so I logged in a whole bunch of miles there, mostly by myself, mostly because I just wanted to put in as much riding time as possible. And the conditions will vary. If you ride all the freaking time, you ride during the rain, you ride during traffic, you ride when the weather's bad, the weather's hot, super windy, in all types of conditions. You ride endurance rides, you ride stop and goes, you ride whatever, you ride with oil on the ground, oil drips and all that crap, and you get used to the different terrain. The other day I rode on sand by accident, and my front wheel slipped. That was a new experience. It was dangerous, but it was a new experience. It did add to my abilities and my experience. So in October, I really didn't want to sell the bike. My friend insisted on selling it, telling me, hey, you really need to sell it to me because it's perfect for me. That bike had been lowered, and I really didn't want to sell it. It's a wonderful bike, very useful bike. And so finally, he egged me on and kept bugging me, and I sold it to him. And he told me, what, it's a good chance for you to get an upgrade. And I thought about it. I really didn't want it, but eventually I sold it to him because he really wanted a motorcycle and really wanted to get in on it. So I did. I decided, okay, fine, take it. And I was scrambling for a bike because I was really getting into my big bike rides, and I did. I found this R1 in October, and as I look back on it, I've only had this bike since October 14th. In a couple of days, Valentine's Day, this will be my bike's 4-month anniversary, and I've ridden this bike. I've put 2,400 miles on this bike to this day. I keep track of the mileage because I just keep track of how much I've been riding it. Okay, so March is around the corner. It makes it's like I've been riding for 10 months now, but I'm riding a lot, and I'm studying the art of riding, and I'm gaining as much experience as possible. I'm doing freaking stupid stuff like stoppie, lifting my rear wheel, and I've done a few wheelies, and I haven't crashed. You can learn, you can slowly build your experience, and therefore when you get on a real monster like an R1 or maybe even a Hayabusa 1300cc bike, or a MotoGP bike, you know what you're handling. You already know how to handle a bike. The next frontier for me would be, I'm looking for another bike actually. because I felt like I've gotten a lot of experience on this bike. I know what I'm doing. I know how to handle this bike. I'm looking for something else now. I'm looking for something underpowered, like a 250cc or other Suzuki or a 600cc. And I want to be able to do the things that I'm able to do with this bike with an underpowered bike, you know, or maybe possibly a dirt bike. You know, it handles differently. It's a very different ride. And the deal is, I want to be able to slip and slide on the dirt with both wheels. From what I was, from speaking to Greg Rice, that MotoGP racer who used to ride with Freddie Spencer, he was saying in order to win, you have to slide both wheels around corners. You have to drift both wheels to be fast enough to place. And if you want to be good, if you want to race at that level, you got to have that ability to go beyond the tire's ability to grip the road and slide. So when I think of that, that is truly the next frontier. That and stunting, having the ability to balance the bike on a wheelie, keeping it up for 5 or 10 minutes. You know, I think that is real mastery of motorcycle. Now, there, like, again, if I ever get back into that, if I ever get into the stunt scene, my deal would be to methodically practice. I would not practice on this special edition bike. No way. This Champions Edition? Hell no. No way. I'm going to get, like, myself the same thing, $1,500 bike, cheap bike, stunt, or maybe get a bike that's already been stunted, real cheap, thrash it around, make my mistakes, and know what I'm doing. So there's a methodical way to get to where you want to go. If you want to go 1,000 cc's, I encourage you, go for it. Some people just say, well, just buy the 1,000 cc's and be careful. Well, you can do it that way, but you know, I chose the way that I thought would not give me the catastrophic accidents. You know, one mistake, it's very unforgiving on a motorcycle. You fall, there's a chance that you'll get mauled by another car, you know, or you'll be severely injured. So that's something really to seriously think about.